In today's video, we'll be looking at how the different Kenyan communities chose their kings and leaders, as well as the roles within the communities that these leaders played. I kid you not, this is arguably the video I had the most fun creating. It really did help me see how similar our traditional communities were. Anyway, with that in mind, before we get to the main part of the video, I'd like to point out that this video was suggested by one of you guys, 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥. So, as I always say, if you have topics or legends from ancient Kenya you think I should cover on one of my videos, then kindly name them in the comment section below. I will also highly appreciate it if you smash the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell. Also kindly smash the like button if you love the video, and leave a comment below. All these actions will help my channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. Without further ado, let us jump into it and look at the first tribe. Like most of the tribes we'll look at in today's video, the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 did not have a centralized government, which means that there was no single higher level that continually governed the entire tribe. So, to help you better understand the tribe's socio-political organization, we are going to start from the most basic units within the tribe. At the most basic level, the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 lived in family units, which were generally headed by a family member who was usually the father. Within the family, the father as the head of the homestead was responsible for settling all disputes that did not need outside intervention. Now, different related 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 homesteads came together to form a clan, which were headed by clan members known as 𝗣𝗑𝗪𝗧 𝗣𝗪𝗧 in the native language. Needless to say, the roles of these clan elders included deciding on inter-clan marriages, maintaining law and order within the clan, and finding solutions to issues affecting the different families within the clan. In regards to how these clan elders were chosen, well, the only qualification was that one had to have gone through all the different initiation stages within the community, including but not limited to protecting the community as a junior warrior and senior warrior. Other qualities the tribesmen considered before picking someone to act as a clan elder included a unique but valuable talent, qualities of leadership, or having a following in any sense of thought or activity. Above the clans, a number of different clans came together to make up the main 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 chiefdom, which was headed by a chief the tribe called 𝗣𝗣𝗥𝗧 or 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 native language. This main council of elders was made up of representatives from the different clans within the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥. This means that each group of clan elders was expected to pick a representative who would represent them on the chiefdom level. That said, unlike the council of elders who were usually elected and changed over time, the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 chief wasn't elected. His position was hereditary, and that's because he was believed to be a descendant of one of the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 founding fathers. As such, these chiefs were believed to be men that had been divinely chosen to lead the different clans in communal sacrifices and social activities. Also, note that the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 wasn't really above the law. In fact, according to the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 traditional custom, he was required by the tribe's custom to only make decisions with the consent and support of the council of elders. Roles of the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 included presiding over main religious ceremonies, declaring war on other tribes that threatened the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥, and leading the clan members in communal sacrifices, as well as social activities such as the planting and harvesting of crops. Actually, here is a fun fact. According to the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 traditional custom, the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 was supposed to be the first one in the community to cultivate, the first one to sow, the first one to taste the produce, and the first one to harvest. Now back to the political organization. Note that there were 4 or 5 different chiefdoms within the whole 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥 tribe, but there was no tribal authority that overruled chiefdom authority either in dealing with neighboring ethnic groups or in management of internal affairs. The chiefdom was then the most effective and largest socio-political unit among the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥. Now to our lecture brothers and sisters. Traditionally, the Luo people, just like the Kisii, were a patriarchal society with a decentralized governing system. So, just like we did with the 𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥, we are going to rank them from the lowest social political units to the largest. The basic unit among the Luo was the family, which was headed either by the father or the first wife in the absence of the father. Above that, many families that could trace their origin to the same ancestor came together to form a clan known as Anyola in the Luo native language. These different clans were governed by the heads of the different families within the clan. Above this, many clans came together to form a village that the Luo called the Gweng, and this was headed by a village elder known as Jadong Gweng or Dodo. These village elders also ruled with the assistance of a council of elders. Now, to qualify as a member of the council of elders under the village level, one only needed to be a man of status either in terms of riches, eloquence, war, or the ability to get people to listen to you. Above the village level, many different villages came together to form a sub-tribe, which was headed by a supreme chief known as Roth in the native language. According to the Luo traditional custom, the position of the Roth was hereditary and would usually be passed on to the eldest son of the Roth. In addition to that, note that the Roth governed with the help of a council of elders known as Galamoro Marjodongo or Jodongwen. This council of elders was made up of representatives from all the villages represented in the sub-tribe unit. Here is a synopsis of things villagers took into consideration before electing someone as an elder that will represent them on the sub-tribe level. Elders with a lot of wealth were more likely to be considered for the position. Other elders were chosen because they had large families and were reputed for their wisdom. Others were selected due to the level of courage they displayed during wars in their youth. And some elders were chosen because they were believed to have the sagacity, ability, and sense of commitment to make a good decision on behalf of the community. And the last but by no means least reason, others were chosen because they were said to have the ability to communicate with ancestral spirits and could make decisions based on what the Luo ancestors desired. I'd also like to note that the Luo socio-political structure was strongest at this sub-tribe level, and even though the Luo nation was made up of different sub-tribes, they were never united by a single ruler of the Luo people. This doesn't mean that sub-tribes didn't come together and interact with each other, however. They actually did a lot. It's just that they only came together when necessary, such as during wars, calamities, and natural disasters, like famines, droughts, and floods, in order to help each other out. Sumo, the act of sharing produce with people who had been struck by natural disasters, was a common tradition among the Luo. Now we're on to the Kenyan tribe that was traditionally best known for making and selling creative wood carvings and ornaments. Divided into 25 different patrilineage clans, the Akamba were also great hunters, famed for their pursuit of elephants, as well as for their skills in poison making and arrow working. With that in mind, in the Kamba society, a family called Mose in the native language was the smallest political unit in the community. Traditionally, fathers were the designated heads of the families, and they were also the ones who engaged in economic activities of the community. Several homesteads came together to form a village called Utui in the native language, and these villages were headed by a council of elders made up of elected individuals within the village. Every village also had a huge men's outdoor fireplace called Zome in the native language, and this was where the council of elders met to discuss serious issues affecting their villages. Above this, several villages came together to form a district called Kyalo in the native language, and this was arguably the biggest political unit found among the Akamba. The district level was headed by two different groups, namely Nzama ya Kyalo and Atumia Methembo. The roles of the Nzama ya Kyalo included solving disputes between villages, declaring war on other tribes, leading communal ceremonies, organizing age-grade transitions, and also recruiting warriors that would protect the Akamba villages. The Atumia Methembo, on the other hand, were responsible for leading communal sacrifices and communicating the will of Ngai and the spirit ancestors to the tribesmen. Before the colonial period, the Akamba had seen the emergence of great leaders who had extensive powers in their districts, but none of them was able to establish a royal lineage. Every single elder in the Akamba community rose to prominence entirely on his or her talented leadership qualities. I'd also like to note that the Akamba society was made up of several districts without any single general political institution with influence throughout the society. There were a few occasions in Kamba life, however, that required the joint efforts of the people from more than one Kyalo, and these included threats from neighboring tribes, mainly the Maasai, or during droughts and famines, which were known to strike the Kamba land. Now on to the most populous tribe currently in Kenya. To understand the socio-political organization of the Agikuyu, we need to start by noting that the Agikuyu nation was divided into 9 different clans, and each of these clans can trace its lineage to a single female ancestor. To learn more about the 9 clans among the Agikuyu, check out the video I recently created on the Kikuyu creation myth. I'll leave a link to the video in the description section below. Anyway, back to the 9 clans. The 9 Agikuyu clans were traditionally independent and self-sufficient units, each with relatively clearly defined territorial areas. Some elders in the Agikuyu community spoke of these areas as ridges, alluding to the mountain ridges of Kirinyaga and Nyandarua. So, thanks to this clear clan distinction within the tribe, it was quite easy for Agikuyu tribesmen to organize themselves socio-politically. Each clan was headed by a council of elders known as the Kiyama in the native language. And also more interesting, unlike most tribes across Kenya, women within the Agikuyu tribe could also be admitted into the clan level council of elders. In regards to eligibility before one became a member of the council of elders, only 3 boxes had to be ticked. One had to have gone through the warriorhood stage and served as a warrior in the community. One had to have already raised children. And most importantly, one had to have at least one child who had successfully gotten married. Now, besides these eligibility requirements, qualities the tribesmen generally looked for before choosing someone to represent them on the Council of Elders included the ability to listen to one's problems, and the ability to make decisions on behalf of the people in a manner reflecting consensus and serving the well-being of all. In regards to the roles of these clan-level council of elders, they were expected to settle disputes within the clans, deliberate over judicial, religious, and political matters, and were also keepers of social cohesion within the community. Above the clan level also existed an apex council of elders that will usually govern the whole Agikuyu community. Each of the 9 clans was expected to forward the leader of its council to this apex council of elders. The apex council of elders will then elect a headman who would act as the Agikuyu nation's spokesman. With that in mind, any disputes that arose between the different clans or issues affecting the entire Agikuyu nation were usually dealt with by this apex council of elders. Another thing I'd like to note, the elected spokesman was not the most powerful man in the Agikuyu nation in any sense of the word. While he might have had a good deal of influence with all the other members of the council, he was only supposed to express the decision of the council and never his own. Anyway, now that you understand the different social political levels that existed among the Agikuyu, there is an additional point that I think I should mention. All members of the different council of elders had to be chosen from the ruling age set in the Agikuyu community at the time. That said, this is a complex system in itself, so I think I should elaborate on it in a separate video. In the meantime, let's take a look at the next tribe. Here is something some of you might not know about the Luhya tribe. Technically, no tribe exists by the name Luhya. The Luhya community as we know it today was invented in 1943 as a political necessity. Before that, these tribesmen were divided into 18 different original tribes with slightly similar languages and cultural traditions. These 18 tribes included the Bukusu, Maragoli, Banyala, Masaaba, Marama, Tachoni, Samia, Batsoso, Idako, Tsuka, Gisu, Kisa, Marachi, Tiriki, Kabras, Kayo, Banyore, and Wanga. With that in mind, since we all already know a lot about the Wanga tribe that was led by Nabongo Mumia, and a lot has been written to talk about most of the other tribes, I'd like to take this opportunity to touch on one of the lesser talked about tribes, and that's the Tiriki. Depending on the reception of this video, I'll be working on a part 2 soon, and I intend to include all the other 17 tribes in that video. Now, let's take a look at the Tiriki socio-political organizations. The homestead, known as Mujizu in the native language, was usually the smallest territorial unit of economic and judicial significance among the Tiriki. The eldest male member alive in the homestead usually acted as its head and spokesman, and was also responsible for being the arbiter of disputes within the homestead. Several homesteads came together to form clans, but these clans had no leaders because the Tiriki assigned no formal importance to clanship as a basis for communal organization and control. This means that the next political unit we find within the Tiriki is the sub-tribe level, which was made up of 4 to 6 different clans. At this point, I'd also like to note that most of the governing and tribal cooperation among the Tiriki took place on the sub-tribe level, and very rarely did inter-sub-tribal cooperation take place among the Tiriki. Anyway, we'll touch on that later. For now, to understand who ran the show in the sub-tribe communities, you'll need to understand the different age grades within the Tiriki sub-tribes. Those between 0 and 15 years in the community fell on the children age grade, and their roles in the community included looking after their parents' cattle in the case of boys and helping their mothers at home in the case of girls. Those between 16 and 30 years in the community fell on the initiated youth's age grade, and their roles in the community included training to become great warriors and still looking after their parents' cattle. Tiriki ladies within this age grade will usually get married and start their own families. Moving on. Those between 31 and 45 years of age in the community fell on the warrior's age grade, and as the name suggests, their roles in the community included defending the herds of their communities and conducting raids on other tribes. Those between 46 and 60 years of age in the community fell on the elder warrior's age grade, and their roles in the community included getting married, training the initiated youths on the arts of war, and acting as advisors or counselors to the warrior age grade. Those between 61 and 75 years of age in the community fell on the judicial elders age grade, and their roles in the community included settling disputes within the sub-tribe, declaring war on other tribes, negotiating for peace in times of war, and finding solutions to anything affecting their sub-tribe. Those between 76 and 90 years of age in the community fell on the ritual elders age grade, and their roles in the community included leading in communal ritual ceremonies and handling all other religious and supernatural functions involved with the Tiriki community. The last but by no means least age grade was those between 91 and 105 years of age in the community, and they fell on the retired age grade. And since these people were believed to have performed all their duties in the community, they were allowed to retire in peace and spend the remainder of their days with their families. These people were also the same age set responsible for passing on the culture and history of the tribe to the younger generation in form of storytelling sessions. Now, as you can see, like most other tribes we've looked at in today's video, the Tiriki had no centralized tribal authority. Each sub-tribe unit was practically autonomous, and the only permanent bond tying the different sub-tribes together was the almost mystical sense of brotherhood that was felt between all those who had been initiated and circumcised according to the Tiriki tribal customs known as 𝗖𝗛𝗣𝗍 in the native language. The only time 2 or more sub-tribes came together was in times of crisis caused, for instance, by a series of devastating enemy raids, prolonged droughts, epidemics, or some other natural disaster that disrupted the normal cycle of activities. Just like the Luhya community we just looked at, the Kalenjin community didn't really exist before the 20th century and was originally 9 different tribes. These tribes include the Kipsigis, Nandi, Tugen, Keyo, Terik, Injems, Marakwet, Sabaot, and the Pokot. In this video, we are going to look at the Nandi political organization, but just as with the other Luhya communities I've left out in this video to avoid making it too long, I promise to include all the other 8 Kalenjin tribes in the second part of the video. So, let's take a look at the Nandi political organization. The family was the most basic political unit among the Nandi and was usually headed by the father. The father's role was to deal with all internal family affairs such as discipline, allocation of land, allocation of crops, and allocation of cattle. A collection of 20 to 100 homesteads came together to form a village, which the Nandi tribesmen called the 𝗣𝗣𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. The 𝗣𝗣𝗘𝗔 was led by a council of elders whose members were chosen by the men in the community. In addition to that, most day-to-day issues affecting the different Nandi homesteads were usually supposed to be solved by the 𝗣𝗣𝗘𝗔𝗡 council of elders. Only issues pertaining to insecurity or harassment from neighboring tribes were supposed to be forwarded to the largest socio-political unit known as 𝗣𝗣𝗣𝗡 in the native language. 𝗣𝗣𝗣𝗡s were made up of 12 or more 𝗣𝗣𝗡s, and their main role was to negotiate for peace or declare war on neighboring communities. And just like the 𝗣𝗣𝗡s, these 𝗣𝗣𝗡s were headed and regulated by a council of elders, where a leader from every 𝗣𝗣𝗡 attended. Also note that leaders assumed the position of a 𝗣𝗣𝗡 council of elders by virtue of their social status, personality, and wealth. Another thing worth noting is that all decisions in the 𝗣𝗣𝗡 council of elders were made through a consensus. With all that in mind, I'd also like to touch on another leader who was present at the 𝗣𝗣𝗡 council of elders but wasn't an elected member, and that's the 𝗣𝗣𝗡. 𝗣𝗣𝗡s among the Nandi came from the same clan, the 𝗣𝗟𝗡 clan, and were believed to have the power to prophesy the future and communicate with Nandi spirit ancestors. As such, these experts were consulted on all matters relating to wars and were even the ones tasked with blazing warriors before they left for a battle. An example of a great 𝗣𝗣𝗡 was 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗣𝗡, who led the Nandi resistance against colonial forces from 1895 to 1906. That's it for today. If you liked the video, kindly smash the like button below and recommend a topic or legend you'd like me to cover in one of my future videos. Also, follow me on my different social media pages because I share interesting cultural facts every day there as well. I'll leave the links to my social pages in the description section below. Thank you and see you again next week with another video.